Hello and welcome to Sunday Brunch. I am RM at Positive Fandom, and of course we have with us today Russ Whitfield. How are you today, Russ?
I'm doing well, thanks, RM. But more importantly, how are you? You seem very upbeat.
Yeah, well, I got to be here. This is our weekly show where we do all the Parley and the Fandom, Russ. So I am here. It's going to be a shorter show because both you and I have some other prior appointments that we have to keep today. So there's going to be a hard out, I guess, maybe around after 1 hour or so, Russ. But yeah, it is great to be here, Russ. And it is also great to see everybody in the chat here with us today. And of course, we have Tom Jr. Jackson with us,
The man, the
moderator. We are all goof people, guys. Certainly, thank you, Tom, for everything you do advertising my show on Monday nights on the PGS. And also, guys, if you love the show and you want to support Positive Fandom, please do consider sending me tips on my StreamYards account, guys. I'm almost at 4,000 watch hours, but I still do need more watch hours. So I appreciate every single one of you out there who is watching my videos. And I have new videos coming out slowly but surely, guys. Sure hope you are well, everybody out there. So Tom Jr. Jackson, thank you as always. And of course, hello to Joker Voice.
Hey, Joker Voice.
And Joker Voice says, he yawns. Oh, yeah, it is early, isn't it? Good morning, chat, and good morning at Positive Fandom. Gee, Joker Voice, if you think it's early this week, next week when I'm attending New York Comic Con, this show is going to be even earlier, guys. It's going to be early. Russ, I don't even know what time you're available in the morning, but since I have to be at New York Comic Con to attend my tea with two lords and a lady or something like that, the people from Outlander, guys, I'm going to be having a morning breakfast with the Outlander crew, which starts at 10:30 a.m. at like in New York City, and that means that I can't do the show at 10:30. So Russ, we might, I don't know if you're available, we might have to do it a little bit earlier, probably around 7 a.m. For an hour.
I won't be. I'm actually going to see my mate Lee in a place called Lynmouth, which is right down on the coast of England. So if it was a 3:30 show, then I could get back. But it's about a 4.5, 5 hour drive. So I'd be cutting it fine for 7 o'clock. I think, because that'd be 3 hours. That'd be 12. Yeah, I wouldn't make it. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm trying to wrap my head around doing it at a different hour because I don't like to not have my Sunday brunch show. I love my Sunday brunch show. I even thought about doing it for a half an hour before, or at least while I was at Comic-Con, but it's too noisy there, guys. There's no quiet place to stream from there. And, it's not fair to everybody, but I will do something. Maybe we could do a recorded show. I don't know, Russ. Is that crazy?
Yeah. Let's talk about that offline, RM.
Yes, absolutely.
We've got some people in the chat, actually. We've got Mario.
Yes. Hello, Mario. How are you today? So good to see you. This thing keeps popping off. So good to see you, Mario. And then we also have Bye for the Hobbit. Love you, RM. Well, I love you, Bye for. Thank you so much for stopping by. Darth Plato, who I speak to quite often. Hello, Darth Plato. Hope you are well this morning. Joe Tyson is here as well.
Hi,
hello.
Joe.
How are you today? We also have The Hidden. Good morning, says The Hidden. Well, good morning to you. Cool Gamer is here. And we also have Thalia Meyer says, good morning at Positive Fandom and Russ.
Hey.
And also, and I don't know if I had said hello to Joe Tyson, probably did already.
You did,
guys,
yeah.
It's great to see all of you. Nathan Trujillo is here. Hello. And Efron Guzman as well. We also have Gary Bando Sandwich Worthington is here. Good to see you there. And BC, aka the New Dark Shadow, is here this morning. Wonderful to see you all this morning. Certainly great to see everybody. This is truly October now, Russ. It's October.
Yes, it is. Halloween season.
And I did just want to put up the banner just in case we talk about House of the Dragon and Andor
Yeah,
season 1.
I guess we will.
Spoilers. That is up there, guys. We are going to be talking spoilers today for House of the Dragon and/or probably more Andor than anything else. But just so glad that so many of you are here today.
Stubble's here, by the way.
Yes, hello, Stubble. I'm just trying to flip. This computer is so slow. And I can't see there we go. Greetings to all, says Stubble. Well, greetings to you, Stubble. Hey, Stubble says, hope you have a good time in New York Comic Con. I got a digital pass and I'm going to check out some panels and other stuff. Well, I'm going to be checking out panels too, Stubble. In fact, I'm going to be at the Star Trek Universe panel. So I'm really excited for that. And as I said, I'm going to be at the Outlander panels. I cannot wait, Stubble. And thank you so much for the kind words, Stubble, as always. So Russ, tell me, what have you been watching recently that has grabbed your attention?
Well, outside of House of the Dragon and Andor, I actually started watching Blonde last night, the new Ana de Armas Adrian Brody movie, the depiction of Marilyn Monroe's life. I didn't know anything about this. I went into this film completely blind. Was it a musical? Was it fun and frivolous? I was completely unprepared for what I got from the opening sort of 10-15 minutes. And I'm an idiot because I put it on quite late at night and I was fairly tired. And I was flicking through YouTube and I watched a bunch of stuff. And might have had a glass of wine last night, and it was I really got into it, but I stopped watching it because I wanted to appreciate the film properly. Today I've been working on a bunch of projects. I haven't had time to sit on my ass and watch watch the rest of it, but I was very, very, very impressed with it. I don't know what the reviews have been like, but Ana de Armas seems to really embody that character. I think it's got an NC-17 rating, and in the first half an hour, there's nudities, there's threesomes, there's masturbation, there's all sorts of things going on. But that's a lot of it isn't particularly sexy. Let me just put it that way. Like the threesome thing is, but the rest of the sort of the sexual stuff that's going on is quite dark, and the opening's horrific. Like the opening is absolutely horrific. It really affected me. It really upset me. And I was questioning myself as to, can I watch the rest? Do I really want to watch the rest of this? It was really, really, really harrowing. I felt. So yeah, but I haven't seen the rest of it yet, so maybe it just doesn't strike me as the sort of film that's going to be particularly fun and frivolous. It seems like a very, very dark take on her life, and 50s Hollywood. Have you seen it?
I have seen it, and Russ, believe it or not, the topic of Blonde, the movie that Ana de Armas is starring in, is or should be the topic, or will be the topic of my Ladies of the PGS episode, which I'm not sure is going to be live or recorded now, because I'm thinking, yeah, I could record it. And it is true that some of the parts are fictional. Like so many of these shows, Stubble, and many of you out there are saying, yes, it is true that some of it is not entirely factual. But of course, ironically, Russ, the entire thing focusing around it is the pushback that people are having, saying that they didn't feel that this was the right kind of film to honor Marilyn Monroe with, and that it was an insulting film, and they think it's degrading and terrible. And so that's why I thought, gee, that'd be a great topic for Ladies of the PGS, because Marilyn Monroe was the ultimate sex symbol who happened to be very talented. But let's be honest here. Her life was not hearts and flowers at all. Never has anyone ever said that she had a perfectly easy, simple life. Her life was tough. She kind of, regardless as to whether or not the things in her biopic are true or not, her life was not easy. And this is a fact. There's no disputing that. If people don't want to see the grittiness of her life, then perhaps this may not be the biopic for you to watch about some things that happened to her, which are terrible. And that is the factual parts of her life. No one can dispute some of the things in there that were unpleasant. Now, it's true that the person who wrote the book mentioned that the book was harsh and that the film would not be appropriate for everyone. But certainly, I don't believe that the film deserves pushback. I think it deserves contemplation. I think that we have to think about what people's lives are actually like. Everyone is fine talking about all the happy things that happen in people's lives. They're okay with that. But when it comes to the real life heavy shit, sorry, but the truth of what happens in people's lives, in marriages, in relationships, people are very upset when they see that on screen these days. But Russ, you and I know that real life is a lot more intense and emotional than what we've been seeing on the screen. There always was a gritty film that came out like this about somebody or something, and there always seemed to be some kind of pushback against it, but we haven't been getting as much grittiness. We haven't been getting those 1970s New York gritty films, have we? We haven't been getting those, but we know that that's a reality probably for millions of people around the world every day. So now, one thing I can say is that when it's presented in sort of a Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon scenario, I think people are more open to it because it's fiction. But when it's nonfiction, and as I've said, it is true that everything in Blonde is not true. When it is a nonfiction context, it does upset people. It's supposed to be upsetting, guys. This film is going to be controversial. She's not alive to dispute any of this stuff. Goodness gracious, this girl died when she was in her 30s. Yeah, certainly there is something to think about it. And you guys are throwing out some very interesting comments. There's a similar film out there, The Notorious Betty Page, which I've seen.
God, who was in that? Oh, she's quite famous, wasn't she?
I like that film too.
I can't remember the star, but I do remember the film. Yeah.
Hello, Mark Goes Blind Gaming. Joker Voice, please tell us who was in The Notorious Betty Page, who starred in that, please. And Tom Jr. Jackson says Serpico. That's another gritty film that I like.
That's a 70s New York film, isn't it? Nathan Trujillo says, so Russ, would you say that Blonde really lifted your skirt up? Thank you, Joker Voice. Yeah, that's right. Gretchen Mol. Yeah, no, it was the beginning really affected me. It was really, really well done. Fictional or not, it was obviously the writers were designing, the scenes are designed to get your sympathy, they're designed to get you behind the character, all of that stuff. But they really affected me. It really worked. It really, really worked well. And I was, even then, when you saw sort of younger but growing up Marilyn, Norma Jean, Darmas's performance gets you on side, or got me on side. I can't speak for everybody, but yeah, I really, really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to watching the rest of it.
Yeah, this is. I think that it might become one of the most critically acclaimed and most criticized biopics of Marilyn Monroe of all time, and I love that. I love when things have that little bit of controversy, as long as it's not as long as it's appropriate controversy. Her life was incredibly controversial. She was the first person on earth to pose for Playboy. Can you imagine the scandalous idea of that in the 1960s when she did that? Just think about that. People didn't pose nude and then have it advertised and have magazines on the corner shelf for you to buy. That was something that was underground, like what Betty Page was doing. That wasn't acceptable. Even when
they do address it a little bit. They do address that Playboy. They might go into it more later on, but certainly in the first half hour, which is what I watched, you see that in a good context. Actually, I don't want to do spoilers for this, but because people may not have seen it, but I hope it continues to be as good as it was. Other thing I'm looking forward to is Accident Man 2,
What?
which I think, yes, yeah,
What?
Hitman's Holiday comes out next week.
Oh my
Um,
God, I can't believe it. You never said anything.
no, I know. I was reminded of it this morning. Actually, I was just scrolling through Insta because I have Insta. I don't do much on it, but I do follow a few things. And Scott Adkins was posting, "It's coming soon. It's coming soon." So that film's wrapped and done and in the can. So I think it releases next week or the week after.
Oh
So,
my God. Where is
yeah,
it premiering, Russ? Do you know?
Netflix, I think.
Okay, are they going to have like a premiere party or anything like that?
I don't know. I haven't seen it. Not normally, not with his normal releases, but I'll buy it on DVD because Adkins is one of those. He's a big speaker on don't pirate low budget films. He's saying, like, it's like 6, 7, 8 quid to go down to Tesco's or Sainsbury's here in the UK. We don't have really Best Buy or anything like that. I mean, we do, but not locally. Um, you just go down to the shops and pick up a DVD, or if you're going to rent it, please rent it. Just don't pirate it. Because if you like low budget martial arts films that don't have a particular agenda or whatever it is, it's just Scott Adkins or Amy or Michael J. White or Amy Johnston kicking people's asses. The only way they can continue to work is if we continue to buy. And if we stream that content or get that content on the down low, that film doesn't make much money, and then investors don't want to invest in those films anymore. So yeah, support low budget indie action movies if you can. Chat. I love them. I think Scott Adkins is like I've always said, I wish I could be Scott Adkins when I grow up. I think he's brilliant. He's a good actor. Yeah, love it, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. Certainly, we have to talk about that a little bit more. And I do want to say hello to, excuse me, to Jacob Ironside. If I didn't, hello, Jacob. And Commander Green says, "Good morning, RM.
Hello.
Good morning to you." And Russ, there's a stunt woman film that came out. I think it's in Zurich. I could be wrong, guys, but I believe it's a European film festival that's getting a lot of buzz. It's called Stunt Woman, and it's winning all sorts of awards. And I will send you that information. But it seems like it's getting a lot of attention now. We've got to talk about this Scott Adkins film when it comes out, Russ. I'm very excited to see that. And Darth Plato mentions, did the show mention that she was married for a while to Joe DiMaggio, the baseball player?
I've only just got up to the bit where I'm only like half an hour in, mate. So I don't know. I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will address that. But at the moment, it's sort of addressing her early career and how her original performances got sort of rave reviews. And I know as sort of time went on, she was sort of looked at more of as a sex symbol than an actor. So we're at that sort of, or I'm at that sort of stage. As I say, I wish I'd put it on at 8 and not at 10. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes you start to fall asleep, unfortunately, these days. Joker Voice, the same with me. Joker Voice says, "I got to scoot early today, got invited to his stream. Here's the review for the week." Hey, Joker Voice has got his review. House of the Dragon good, She-Hulk awful, Andor boring. Rings of Power, I'm not going to say that word. Have a great day, folks. Thank you, Joker Voice.
See you later, mate. Thank you for your week in review.
Yes, and certainly do. And check out Tom Jr. Jackson's channel, guys. Tom Jr. Jackson has tons of reviews on his channel. Do like and subscribe his channel. It is growing, and we want to get him to a point where he has more subscribers. So please check it out, guys. Certainly do that. And thank you for letting us know, Tom Jr. Jackson out there. An OG fan when Star Wars was just Star Wars is here. Says, "Good morning, Mmmm and Russ. Happy Sunday." Well, happy Sunday to you. OG fan when Star Wars was just Star Wars. Always a pleasure to see you here in the chat. And Russ, it's funny that we mentioned Star Wars because certainly everybody is still talking about the Andor series. Russ, have you been watching the Andor series episode 4?
I have. I'm in complete disagreement with Joker Voice here. I think it's I think it's really brilliant. I'm really enjoying it, and it's kind of funny. I saw a review on this, and somebody pointed out that Disney Star Wars only has one plot, and that is a heist. Like The Force Awakens, they have to break in somewhere to do something, everything goes wrong. Rogue One, they have to break in somewhere to do something, and everything goes wrong. Book of Boba Fett, they have to break into the castle, the Jabba the Hutt's palace. Everything goes wrong, and now here we are, Andor episode 4. We find out it's a heist. They're going to go rob the Imperial treasury. You know, sorry, do you want to pick this one up?
Yes, OG fan when Star Wars was just Star Wars mentions. Thank you very much for the kind words here. He says, great video on Dame Mantle, rest in peace. Her contribution to pop culture and her books and the plays and movies, something based off of them. Definitely. And Russ, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I did make a video about Dame Hilary Mantel, who wrote the famous now I can't remember, Wolf Hall trilogy. Russ, are you familiar with this author?
Familiar with the trilogy. I think, but I haven't read the books. Like the sort of Elizabethan stuff wasn't really my thing. But you reminded me of something else that I want to bring up after we've had our Andor chat.
Well, it turns out that she, in particular, she's written quite a lot of material, and the Wolf Hall series was based on it's a fictitious version of what life might have been like during Henry VIII's court. So it's critically acclaimed. She won awards for her work. It actually became adapted, I believe, onto the Globes or to the West End. And then it was brought here in the United States. That was a hot ticket to get on Broadway. Everybody wanted a ticket in 2015. And then eventually it became adapted to a television program that BBC4 picked up. And eventually the PBS, which is the public broadcasting system here in the United States, bought it. And it was just so incredible. It starred Mark Rylance, who I'm a big fan of. And thank you, OG fan, when Star Wars was just Star Wars. Certainly Dame Hilary Mantel was incredible and such a wonderful writer. Certainly appreciate her contributions to that. So now, Russ, you were talking about the idea about Andor and how people are saying that the kind of storyline feels very repetitive.
Well, it does. But sorry, I just think it doesn't matter with Andor in the same way that it does in other shows, simply because Andor is so well written and so well acted for me. Now, look, if people don't like it, that's obviously fine. You know, then I would disagree. I really love it. The performances in this show. We've got to talk about Skarsgård as Luke. Is it Lucan? Luthen. Like he goes from this sort of like, you know, hard-nosed revolutionary, then he puts his wig on and he transforms into this like foppish, you know, art dealer. Now we were talking last week about member berries and how Andor is particularly good at not waving them in your face. The what's it called, the antiques dealership, the place where he works, literally everything there is apparently a member berry. I watched a quick video on this. There's Mandalorian armor in the corner. There's a, you know, beginning of the Force, the hand, the fist, and the whatever in one place. There's things in carbonite in the back room. You know, there's all sorts of little references that only the hardest of hardcore Star Wars fans will get. We had that whole piece. We had the meeting with Mon Mothma, and then Mon Mothma's husband, who I thought was epic. I thought that guy didn't have a lot to do, but it was just his last line, like, you know, oh God, what's wrong with having a bit of fun? You know, he's just kind of like this guy who's married to this high-powered politician, and he's like living the life of Riley. He's got this really nice house, and he just wants to party, and, you know, fair play to him. But of course, the scene stealer was well, there was a lot. The Imperials came into this show once again because it's filmed in England. All the Imperials pretty much are back to being English, which I quite like about the Empire, that they were always.
Well, almost everybody in the show has some British accent, Russ. Everybody.
Almost
even
everybody.
Non-Imperials.
Yes, but I like it when the Imperials are British. I quite liked it in the original films. Yeah. And you see that we've got our new people have pointed this out, that we've got a new Imperial female officer, and of course none of the guys will listen to her, and she's obviously right. And we've got, okay, let's get that bit out the way. Again, there might be an agenda in here, but it's not so broad as to overshadow the rest of the show. I love the fact that she's got conflict with her peer, the black guy. Like they hate each other. She's trying to progress her career, and she's not infallible. Like, she says, right, well, I'm going to the boss then, and he says, well, go on and good luck with that. And the boss doesn't listen to her, and she's taken down a peg or two. And I like the idea that she's almost like a counterpoint to the corporate security guy. She can see there's a pattern. She wants to do her job. The corporate guy, gets taken down a peg or two. He's got to go home to his mum. These people have lives outside of work. And what I really liked about the corporate guy, and I made a note of his name, and of course it's gone completely out of my head now. The Gorman character.
Yes.
I guess you're looking it up, are you?
Oh, the young officer.
The young officer, yeah. So he gets taken down a peg or two, has to go back to his mum. But the way that character is written, it's almost like you sympathize with him as well. He's like obviously against Andor, who, as I've repeatedly said, is a despicable human being. He is horrible. Like, and I love that you've been forced to follow a guy that isn't particularly nice. Whereas with the corporate security guy, he's forced to go home to his mum's house, and there's a bit of aggro there. And now we're bringing the Imperials into it, and this Imperial female officer sees that there's a pattern going on. The show is running away with me. It's picking me up. And of course, you've got Andor being dropped off and meeting the rebels for the first time, which aren't the rebels, these aren't the rebels we're looking for. They're proto-rebels. These are people living out in the wilderness. These are people who don't have X-wings and uniforms and things like that. This is, as the Empire would have it, a bunch of terrorists.
Yes, and they need money.
And they need money. And that's what Luthen is bartering with Mon Mothma for, and she's saying, look, it's difficult for me to move funds around. So there's a lot going on here. We've got the Andor plot, we've got the Luthen Mon Mothma plot, we've got the corporate security guard plot, and now we've got the Imperial intelligence plot. A lot going on. But I feel like I'm invested in all of those characters. I liked the performances. I loved the Imperials. I thought they were brilliant. They were just thesping, weren't they? They were thesping away.
Yes.
Investing that dialogue with all of the feeling and gravitas that you need. Nobody in this show is winking at the camera. The tone is not like Boba Fett. It's not like The Mandalorian. It's very, very Rogue One. And 10 out of 10 from me. I'm really loving it. I'm really loving it.
Hello, the Basco scenario.
Hello.
Good morning to you. Welcome. And also hello to, can I say this? I am Legend 0000, who says Stellan Skarsgård is a great actor, and in episode 4 was brilliant. Anton Lesser as Major Partagatz was the gentleman who was questioning everyone and saying, why are we here? And it was like they were knights at a round table, and you forgot for a second that this was Andor, and it truly was like something they were performing, and they were just on top form. The diction was perfect. Everything was absolutely incredible. That young woman who is an officer, she is determined to get what she wants. The man she kind of got refused to get the report from is also incredible, telling the young Cyril Karn is the officer that you're talking about, or former officer Russ, that you will not be replaced.
Yeah.
You reached the ceiling of where you can go. You will go home and you will think about what you have done, and it's kind of like, wow, that speech from him was worse than the speech he probably got home when that smack from his mom couldn't have compared to that disgrace that he suffered. And his boss, who's such a weasel, like, well, I wasn't even here. Why?
Yeah, I was doing a presentation. Yeah. But here's the thing, I don't know what they're going to do with him now, because I literally thought he was going to be a sort of dogged antagonist. Now are we going to see a situation where he's left out in the cold and maybe he starts having second thoughts? So he goes from this gung-ho Imperial or corporate guy to maybe switching his allegiance. I don't know. I don't know.
I think he changes his name and becomes a stormtrooper and then rises through the ranks. That's what I think he's going to do. It seems to make sense. They are eager for recruits, or soon will be. And I have a feeling his fate that he will climb the ranks in another direction. And perhaps he'll even come face to face with the man who let him go. So wouldn't that be something? But perhaps not in this season.
No,
But
let
he
him go, but
certainly,
ruined his life.
yes, but this man is not, they wouldn't even have bothered to show us him going home if he wasn't going to come back, guys. At least I don't think so. So I don't think his story is over yet, Russ. I think we are going to see this man, and he's going to cause all sorts of calamity. Maybe he'll sabotage it. Maybe this is another enemy of the Empire from within
Well, that's what
somehow.
I'm thinking. I don't know which way he's going to go because he's been left out in the cold here. But part of me hopes he doesn't become a rebel. Part of me is hoping that he wants to reprove himself and becomes like a legit antagonist alongside the Imperials, or joining the Imperials or whatever. And I just think that this particular show is mature enough to go in that direction. Right, it's surprising us at the moment. Well, we've got a metric ton of comments to go through
Oh,
here. Should we
yes,
start? Should
yes.
we
And we
start
will.
going through?
We're gonna get through this. Scars, Thalia Meyer. Hi, Thalia.
Hey,
I hope you're well. Says Skarsgård is brilliant. Isn't he great? He's wonderful. And my favorite thing, Thalia and Russ in chat, is how he's able to handle Andor, who now, from the look on this man's face, is in crisis. He's terrified. Have you seen the looks on his face, Russ? Just that scared look alone, I was starting to feel sorry for him, even though I know he's the kind of guy who you could throw in any planet and he'll make it. He can't do that anymore. I think he's at a point in his life that he cannot just get by anymore. For some people, this happens. Maybe they're a hustler, maybe they do small jobs, and after a while, they can't do it anymore, no matter what it is. Andor has reached the expiration date of these small jobs, kind of being, doing these things. He can't do that. Maybe he's run out of planets in the galaxy where they all know his name, and he can't shop around anymore, so to speak. So
well, it's
now,
as you said last week, wasn't it? Like I was impressed at your observations and your foresight
oh, thank you.
when they're having the conversation on the ship, and Skarsgård or Luke and Luthen says to him, you're out of options. What are you going to do? I can drop you off. You can run. You can kill me and take the ship and run, which is what So it's almost like Luthen sees through him. He knows what he's going to try and do. He said, "Or I can pay you 200,000, and you can do this job, and then you can do whatever the hell you like." Yeah, I didn't come for the holocron thing or whatever, the Imperial map thing. I came for you. So yeah, great. Anyway, what's Stubble saying here?
Stubble says, finally, some good Star Wars with Andor. It's nice to see something for grown-ups and not a goofy Boba and horribly written Obi-Wan. It finally feels like the real world again. And Russ, just to add to what you're saying, this is another example of seeing a depiction of men in a positive light. Skarsgård is actually told, Andor that he came for him. He says, I don't care about some stupid waypoint tech. I don't need that. I came for you. And for maybe the first time in Andor's life, somebody has said that you are the most important thing over anything else, over all this tech and all this stuff. None of that stuff matters. The whole trip was just to get you to work for me. I don't think he's ever been recruited this way. So he's very conflicted, you see, because his entire life might have been people trying to con him and being involved in sort of these embroiled kind of, machinations that truthfully didn't get him anywhere. Maybe made him a few bucks, back and forth.
Yeah, I kind of think the opposite. I kind of think his whole life has been conning people and sleeping with other people's wives and doing all this stuff. He's generally a lowlife who's had to survive. He's had to survive it the hard way, by stealing and killing and taking and using and conning and borrowing and gambling and all this kind of stuff. Somebody earlier on I can't see. You can feel the different environments. It's sterile, shiny Coruscant versus the grimy world on planets far away from the galactic core, and that is something really true. And like you see Coruscant and it's awesome, but you see the planet that Andor is on, and it's kind of representative of the characters that live there and what they would have to do to survive. So yeah, Stubble, yeah, great comment. You really do feel that, and I love the way
Absolutely.
it looks. You know, they're smart. You know, they've used kind of communist or fascistic architecture to sort of depict this place. You know, these are harsh grey buildings and all that kind of stuff. It looks brilliant. The show just looks so good, and again, the performances are outstanding.
The performances are outstanding. You know, at first I thought maybe Andor was the most interesting man in the world, and perhaps you're right. He's a con man. You are absolutely right. He's a con man. He's sleeping with other people's spouses. And they, you know, we already knew that from the first episode. He's doing all sorts of dirty deeds, isn't he?
Mm.
And now we have Skarsgård. Maybe this Skarsgård Luthen character is the most interesting man in the galaxy. Maybe this guy is, you know, somebody that we can't quite figure out yet. We know that he's important, but boy, I'd love to know what he's been through and what he's done. He clearly knows all the important people to know in Coruscant, doesn't he? He's
Yeah,
tight with
absolutely.
Mon Mothma. He's tight probably with everybody. How else could he have all those collectibles? He has the resources to do stuff. But even now, they're at a point where they know they have to stand up and do something. They're running out of funds. He needs this money. Mario Lopez mentions that. I'm sorry. Mario Lopez says, I don't understand why actors and producers from Andor are making comparisons with current political issues. Why are they doing this? Do they want to lose audiences? Well, this is what I was talking about. And Russ, you and I have talked about it on Ladies of the PGS. Why can't artists let the work speak for themselves, guys? Do check out that last episode of Ladies on the PGS. We talk about you're enjoying a show. Everything's great. You watch the show. It's great. You feel great. You go to sleep and you wake up the next morning and there it is, this article where people are saying, okay, this is what you're supposed to be thinking about it. And, you know, I was told to think about this politician when I was doing it because he embodies the, you know, this and that. And, you know, some of these comments by these artists, it makes it hard sometimes to enjoy these shows. It undermines the show, Russ.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I think it was the Imperial officer, the female, came out and said this was a depiction of, you know, Trumpian America, and it was a comment on Trump and stuff like that, and you know how terrible it is, and you know, and all that. And I just, well, yeah, shut up, love.
You
Like
know what?
nobody cares about that. Everyone wants to enjoy this show
Mm-hmm.
for being good Star Wars, and it seems like it's getting its audience. It seems to have found its audience. Like I think Mikey said last week that it's kind of generational, and I think people of our sort of age group who watched Star Wars as children and grew up wishing that we would have something for our age group. It seems like finally they've landed on it, and they said, "Oh, this is for you. This is for the over 40s, you know, over 30s, over 40s, whatever. It's not for kids. I mean, kids can watch it for sure, and a lot of it will probably go over their heads. But you know, like you pointed out last week, people are having sex and people are getting killed and people are getting shot in the face, and there's a lot going on. And I think that this constant carping on about modern day politics is starting to wear thin. Even now with sort of Joe Public, not with the nerd community who have sort of been split about this since the Last Jedi, I imagine, or going back all the way to 2016 Ghostbusters or whatever, however far back you want to draw those lines of combat. But now it just seems that people are just over it. People are bored of it. They don't need to be told by actor X and actor Y that they're shitty people because that they put an X on this box in the ballot box. I mean, who fucking cares at this point? And I wish they would. Yeah, I wish
And
they'd shut up.
And you know something? That's the actor's interpretation, or what they decided to put into it. Unless the author or the writers are saying that, unless Disney comes out and says that we're using this, you know, I'm reluctant to go ahead and apply that notion because Disney itself isn't saying it. You know, like, are they? They're not. They haven't used those exact words. It may be a
No, but
political show,
yeah,
but you know, in actuality, until they actually say that that's what it's supposed to be about, you know, I'm going to stay away from it because that's a performer's opinion of the work, and that's what they use for their own motivation. But
well,
you could
quite.
apply that to many different leaders. It doesn't have to be
I
just
think
one.
so, Aaron, but I also would say that Disney Disney's card is a little bit marked at this point. You know, they've been so relentless with their messaging. It's almost hard to trust Andor. That's my one reticence about Andor. Is it going to go over a cliff all of a sudden in episode 5 or episode 6? Is it suddenly going to pull the wool out and become pull the rug out, sorry, and become crap? And I'm really, hoping not. I'm just hoping that it stays as it is. Like, it's going to be a heist movie, whatever it's going to be. Fine, keep the messaging's there, and we can all see it. It's the same with House of the Dragon, but it's not in your face. The writing seems to be smarter than that, and that's fine. But yes, as you said, they just need to stop. It's your opinion and your politics, and that's fine, but they might not be your audience's politics. So stop trying to alienate your audience by coming out and saying so. I mean, just under half of America voted for this guy, or American voters voted for the guy, and you're telling them that they're shitty people. Just don't say anything. Just let this show speak for itself, as you said.
Yeah, and Darth Plato says there was a cool nod to Knights of the Old Republic in this episode. Darth Plato, please let me know the details of that if I don't get to it. Gary Bando Sandwich Worthington says Monarch of the Glen star. I didn't know that some of the guys from Monarch of the Glen were in this. I'm trying to remember. I watched Monarch of the Glen a bazillion years ago, Gary. It was a bazillion years ago. But yes, I'm familiar with Monarch of the Glen. Certainly, the man who plays the young lieutenant's, the one who gets fired, boss, that man is famous. He's been in I think it was 4 Weddings and a Funeral, as I was telling you, Russ, where he thought he was going to pick up Andy McDowell. He didn't stand a chance, but he thought he was in there, guys. That man is a classic actor. He's been in so many roles, too many to count, too many costume dramas to count. I love that guy. And I'm sorry I don't know his name, but he's a wonderful actor. OG fan when Star Wars was just Star Wars says, I can't wait until Andor is over so I can finally watch it. That's right. You are waiting to watch the whole thing. I won't risk 12 weeks of disappointment, but I will risk a weekend. Well, OG fan when Star Wars was just Star Wars. We can't wait to hear what your opinion is when you see it in the entirety. Renz Tolentino is here, guys.
Hi,
Renz Tolentino, a very talented artist. Check out his artwork on Instagram. He has some incredible Star Wars hyper-realistic paintings. You don't want to miss these, guys. So please do check out Renz Tolentino's work. And Darth Plato goes on to say, spies are generally a shady lot given their line of work. Well, you know something? I think you're right, Darth Plato. And this has become a heist film, Russ, right? This is a heist. And I don't think it's going to take the entire 12 episodes for the heist to happen. What do you think? Maybe the next 3 or 4, Russ? What do you think?
I think the next 2. I think it'll be a 2-parter, and I think things will go badly wrong, and probably Andor will be the only one to escape. Maybe I don't know. I don't know with this show, and that's the good thing about this show is it's not predictable. I think Stubble was saying somewhere else in the chat that he doesn't think Luthen will survive season 1. I tend to agree. I think, we don't know who Luthen is. We know who Mon Mothma is. And we know who Andor is. We kind of know that their story is going to go on, but Luthen not. And I do think this is the sort of show that isn't, well, we know for a fact this isn't the sort of show that is scared of killing people off. Like poor old Tim got offed in episode 3, didn't he?
Well, there's been a lot of speculation about who all these characters are. And Rogue Thinker says, what some people don't understand is we have no problem with feminism or strong female characters. We only hate when it is a story instead of being part of a good story. I personally, I guess I feel the same way. I like to have men in my story. You can have as many women as you want, but I need to have a strong male figure in there. Some kind of male presence, guys. I like men in stories, even if it's all about women. There still should be some guys around. At least that's what I like to see.
We've spoken about this before, and it's the way that the characters are written, right? That's the issue. It's you can have female characters coming out of your ears. That's absolutely fine, but the way that Disney's overall corporate style guide, if you like, seems to want to have these characters written as flawless, and we see with Andor actually that none of the characters are flawless, and it seems to be a complete departure from everything else that Disney have done so far, apart from Rogue One. But you know, to address that last comment, yeah, I think every single YouTuber that's anti all of this messaging stuff has said the same thing. We love Ripley, we love Sarah Connor, we love Vasquez, we love Samantha from The Long Kiss Goodnight. We love all of these characters because they're well written, they're flawed characters. The key point of any character, or not any character, but many characters, is they have to struggle to make their victory worthwhile in the end. Should they win? Look at what Rocky Balboa went through, and he didn't end up winning, but he won his own personal story. You know, he proved he wasn't a bum from the neighborhood. Look at what John McClane had to go through, surviving a terrorist attack with bare feet just to prove to his wife that he still loves her. You know, but they put these characters through the ringer, whereas the Captain Marvels of this world just don't get put through that same ringer. So we can. I know that the trope is her only flaw was she, you know, she had to realize how awesome she was. Yes, you can look at it like that. You could also say that she had a crippling lack of self-confidence, and it, you know, her being recruited by this organization and being put down by Jude Law had crippled her whole life, and she wasn't able to realize her full potential. That's a kind of way of looking at her narrative arc, right? But they don't make her struggle. They don't dare let her have any flaws. So you just flip it, and it literally is. Well, she just didn't realize how awesome she was, and then even at the end, there's no at no point in that movie do you think she's in danger. Like, she just bitch slaps Jude Law and goes and blows up the spaceship, and that's the end of it. But yeah, so it's the writing. Anyway, that was a long answer to a small comment.
No, it's fine. It's what we're here for. And I'm going to comment on that. Darth Plato says the intelligence boss had a creepy moment when he compared the welfare of the state to the health of the body. Hitler did the exact same thing. Thank you, Darth Plato, for saying that.
And they probably knew. Yeah,
yes.
That was probably not but by accident, given we know that obviously from Star Wars: A New Hope, you know, the Imperials are obviously Nazis. Look at their uniforms. You know, they're clearly based, and the soldiers are called stormtroopers. I mean, I can't be any more on the nose, right?
Yeah,
Death Squad commanders, stormtroopers, and grey uniforms with jack boots and flared pants. I mean, it's pretty obvious what they are.
I also wanted to mention, since you mentioned Vasquez, Russ, obviously one of the most famous characters in the Alien franchise in regards to the movies from the movies Aliens, that there's two things to mention. There is a book coming out that gives you the background about Vasquez, which we talked about. Apparently it's coming out soon. And Parley from Latino Slant has gotten a copy, an early copy, if it's going to review it. But just, guys, keep your eyes out for his review of it. I'm sure this book is going to be amazing. And Project Acheron, which is a alien YouTube channel, has a particular project called Aliens Expanded. And it's a special project that they've been working on. It's a crowdfunding campaign where they use the project affiliate link. You go to Project Acheron, you click on it, and they just have an entire year-long celebration of the movie Aliens. So I think there's only 1 or 2 days left to fund that one.
It finishes tomorrow, and these are the same guys that did In Search of Darkness and In Search of Tomorrow. These like 5-hour documentaries, which had, interestingly, both of them have Jeanette Goldstein in, and yeah, they're really, really good, and do go back it because they're well worth it.
So as an aside, now back to this, Nathan says he's waiting for the Civil War that A New Hope's opening crawl talked about. Yeah, absolutely. And also Woodrow, hi Woodrow, says the Imperial commander dismissed her, the other Imperial officer, because her counterpart, and that I love her counterpart, was working twice as hard as her at the moment. Check yourself. Yes. However, it didn't stop her from being mouthy. And I've got to tell you, that might be the one environment or the one job that I might keep my mouth shut. What about you, Russ?
Yeah, I don't particularly think I'd be rising. I might be Imperial propaganda. That might be me. I'd probably be right in the propaganda. I'd be in the office, you know, with the round glasses and the cigarette.
I would be one of the I guess social directors, because I would be at all those parties that they would have, and there would be this imperial and that imperial. That would be me in that type of environment. They would immediately say, "Oh yes, she's social. We have to have her doing that." She would meet everybody, and I would have to know everybody. But I would be working with Luthen, telling him all the dirt. So that
Oh
would
my
be
goodness! So you'd
my
be one of the people I'd be
saving.
giving a terrible write up. There are collaborators and terrorists within our midst. And if you want to keep this peace and stability of this great galactic empire and keep yourself safe, you must report any and all instances of any hint of rebellion. Yeah,
Yes.
I'll get to work typing away.
Well, we certainly would have our roles in this, and it's exciting to see us kind of be able to place ourselves in what would you do, what would your role be. Stubble McShave says you feel the different environments, the sterile shiny Coruscant versus the grimy world on the planets far away from the galactic core, and also that house that the poor lieutenant who got fired has to go into, where he goes into the elevator and it just goes down and down, and I don't know, like a bazillion levels till he gets to his house, and it just looks like it's like the most brutalist form of architecture you've ever seen in your life, right?
And yes, and we've seen this before. Like, this is established in Star Wars, isn't it? From the prequels and probably from other bits that I'm not familiar with. We know in the prequels that everybody, the Jedi and the Council and all those guys, live up in the gods. But the further you go down, the shittier it becomes, because Obi-Wan's got to go down, and even he doesn't go all the way to the bottom, right? So where these people are living is, not very nice, let us say.
It's not very nice. And hello, Louis Libitz. Welcome, Louis Libitz. We are so glad to see you here today, and to everybody here. Also, we also have Slot Car Palace. Says, good morning. Hi. Everybody, certainly. Let me see. Let me go on a little bit farther here. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention was, it had to do with the fact that some of the other characters, and we might have to kind of wrap it up. Some of the other characters there's been speculation about. Now, Darth Plato has a lot to say in regards to the Empire in Star Wars is a well-constructed world and allusions to 20th century totalitarianism. And the Empire in Star Wars is not well-constructed. It's the same. Sorry, it's the same. This was the one I'm looking for. If you did a series about the Maquis, and that sounds like, yes, I wasn't quite sure if you meant the Maquis from Star Trek or the Marquis, because it means the French resistance of World War II. It would be pretty dark, I'm sure. So it's a very interesting comparison, Darth Plato, that you made there. Now, the other thing that I was going to say is that people have been speculating about some of the characters. The character who works with Luthen in his shop, speculation, guys. People are saying that is Andor's sister.
Oh, maybe.
It gets even better.
Go on then.
The character Vel, who is on the planet, is it Aldrin? The planet Aldrin. He brings him to the planet Aldrin to do this heist thing.
I don't know if that's not Alderaan, is it?
Aldrin.
Oh, right, okay. I don't know. Which one is this? The guy that fell asleep on guard?
Yes, that planet. Yeah. But the character who walks, it's called Aldhani. Sorry, Aldhani is the planet. The character that Luthen and Andor meet, the woman, her name is Vel.
Oh, right, okay.
Supposedly, she is Mon Mothma's daughter.
Oh, I don't know. That might be something from the greater lore. Is Mon Mothma's daughter a big deal?
I don't know. But this is what I've been hearing, so I figured I'd share it with you guys. I just thought it was interesting. I don't know what's behind it to support it. I know the one about his sister working with Luthen is pure speculation, but the one with that character Vel being Mon Mothma's daughter, I was told was the truth. So if you guys know anything about it, and have any speculation or have heard anything about it, let me know. Jerry Minoza says, good morning. Hi.
It's the one thing that people have picked up on, if they're going to give this show a negative, actually, is the whole sort of thing about wanting to find his sister has sort of been mentioned once in episode 1 and then has been completely dropped. So that's the rod that people are hitting it with. And hello, Norwegian Kryptonian.
Hi, Norwegian Kryptonian, and hello to Sandy Q. Hi, Sandy. Good to see you this morning. And also, so, I think that it's interesting because people are trying to place who these extra characters are. This person who works with Mothma, with Luthen, is obviously knows what he's doing. She purposefully kept the driver away from Mon Mothma so she could have a private conversation. So clearly she is in cahoots with this. The fact that also that Luthen had that kyber crystal, people have been speculating about this. Usually kyber crystals are found in lightsabers or in other types of weapons. Thank you, Darth Plato, says in KOTOR, which is Knights of the Old Republic, it was explained that before the Old Republic, there was an infinite empire wrought by the Rakata. The episode tapped that when he gave him the kyber crystal, and he said, this is in memoriam of the battle at Rakata. So that was kind of an important nod for people who played Knights of the Old Republic and for people who remember that. I know about Knights of the Old Republic. I have the game. I've never actually played the game, but I think it is very interesting when we're thinking about that.
Just one thing before you move on. They also did talking of kyber crystals, they talk about Mmmm and things like that. Mmmm was the planet in Splinter of the Mind's Eye where Luke and Leia end up with the mining colony on there, and they end up finding a huge kyber crystal. So it was kind of nice. These references are obscure, but they're there.
Absolutely. And Sandy Q says she came here for Sunday brunch after afternoon tea with Az. I'll need a workout after this. Yes, me too, Sandy Q. But so great to have you here. Jerry Minosa says, I won't be surprised if Kanan Jarrus made an appearance on Andor. Yeah, everybody has been talking about Kanan Jarrus, and so much that we've seen in Andor is kind of reminding me of Jedi Fallen Order. It would be great to see that, or even the entire...
Is Kanan Jarrus Star Killer?
No, he's not.
No, because I've heard rumors that he might be making an appearance, Star Killer.
We saw Star Killer's outfit, his armor in the in
maybe
Luthen's
that's where it came from. Yeah.
I guess a shop. Guys, confirm with me here. And Kanan Jarrus is a character from Jedi Fallen Order who is a former Jedi. Who's on the run and is featured in that game. Just confirm with me, guys. I hope I'm not saying the wrong information here. Just enjoying everything you guys are putting out here. Mario Lopez, I love this. I wonder if they will create a reason to use Tatooine Planet in Andor. I hope not. I hope we never go back. I don't know how you feel, Russ, but I feel like I've tattooed out.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's... the people that are making this are sort of, they seem to really, really know what they're making and where they're going and what they're doing. And it's almost like a side call to Star Wars to Disney Star Wars at this point. It doesn't seem to be taking place in the same universe as The Mandalorian and Boba Fett, even though it's a much darker take. And yeah, thank goodness for it. As I say, I'm a fan. I can't sit here and slag it off. I'm really, really, really loving it. And after a period of seemingly so little to cheer about, we've got these 2 shows or 3 shows, if you include Cobra Kai, which I know dropped all at once, that are genuinely good and genuinely enjoyable and genuinely stuff that we can talk about here on Positive Fandom and say, I love this. This is great. Yes, I'm looking forward to tomorrow's episode. I'm looking forward to seeing Andor next week. Yeah, it's good to have.
Well, thank you, Tom, for putting this up. He says to join me on Monday nights at 6 p.m. Eastern on the Post Geek Singularity, Robert Meyer Burnett's channel, for my show, Ladies of the PGS. Now, normally I would have that show at 6 p.m. tomorrow. I have to see what's happening tomorrow, guys. I can't say for certain I'm doing the show, but if I am, you will see an announcement for the show that will go out on Twitter, on the PGS channel. So certainly I will let you all know. I am doing a little bit of traveling over the next day or so. So I don't know if I'm going to get delays or even I'm going to be in front of a computer screen. So that's the limitation there, but I plan on doing it, but I'm not going to put up the announcement until I know absolutely for certain. And thank you, Tom Jr. Jackson, for being so kind to put that out there. And Darth Plato says, hey, this is not a good angle. If Mon Mothma's kid is a known rebel, it would make Mon Mothma person non grata. Yeah, this is very true, Darth Plato.
Sure, but in the end, she does split, doesn't she? Because she becomes, part of the Rebel Alliance. So she will ultimately leave Coruscant and go off with Admiral Akbar and be around that particular gang. The Civil War and the Crawl that people were talking about earlier on, yeah?
Absolutely. She publicly, like you had Russ, she publicly renounced the Senate in front of everybody and says, I can't do this anymore. If it were me, I would just leave. I would kind of politely leave. I'm like, oh, they're almost done. I'm just going to politely leave. No one would know. But she makes a proclamation in the Senate where she says, I can no longer, stand around and see this type of action take place as I know people are starving, this kind of thing, a written thing. The Hidden says, or those crystals can be found in a Death Star. Yes, they can be found in a Death Star. In fact, I think the Death Star I could be wrong, but I think it's powered by kyber crystals or some kind of crystal. The Hidden, yes, they certainly do want them, and they've harvested them. And we've seen it in, if not in Rebels, maybe also in the Clone Wars. Yes. Tom. And guys, please follow and contact Russ at his website. We're almost at the end of the show, everybody. Yes, in Star Wars Rebels. And I think it's very interesting. Thank you very much, OG Star Wars, when Star Wars was just Star Wars, says that Kanan is from the Star Wars Rebels anime series. Thank you so much for that. I got confused. I'm thinking of Cal Kestis, right? Cal Kestis is the one who is in Jedi Fallen Order. Kanan is from Star Wars Rebels animated series. Yes, and they were part of, I guess, I don't know whether they were called the Fulcrum crew or anyway, it was with the crew. The main group of Rebels. So I can't believe I forgot that. I need to refresh and rewatch it. I haven't watched it since it came out. So you know how long ago that was, guys. But Kanan is a Jedi. And so thank you for correcting that. And I'm sorry, Russ, I was incorrect.
No worries. You're way ahead of me on the Star Wars. I guess before we wrap up, we should just touch briefly on House of the Dragon to wrap things up. For me, it continues to impress. I found the time jump actually a little bit jarring, simply because not only just because of the different actors, it was the relationships that took me a few minutes to swallow, if you like. Like we've had this massive time jump, and now all of a sudden, Rhaenyra has a couple of kids off the chief of the palace guard, and the Crispin Cole hates her now, calls her a cunt, and all the rest of it. So you can see that, having watched the previous episodes, it's given you enough respect to realize that the Queen has won him over, and now he's the Queen's man and no longer the princess's man. Paddy Constantine continues to become more and more decrepit and old, and just wants to be left to play with his Lego set, which I think the drinker said, I can't claim credit for that. I thought it was quite funny. He just wants to build his Lego town and be left on his own. But yeah, it's if you can swallow all of that, the drama is the same. The machinations are there, like killing so we've got spoilers about who's going to die in this. The fact that the brother murdered his father and his brother on a sort of throwaway comment from the Queen, and the Queen's like, oh, I didn't really want you to do that, and she's quite distraught, but actually it helps her out. Yeah, great line. Am I a bastard? And she doesn't really answer it, does she? As far as I remember. But yeah, it's. I think the thing with this and Andor, they're both very slow, aren't they? Like there's not a lot going on, and it's all about character, and it's all about performance, and it's all about dialogue. So what I said, there's not a lot going on. There's a lot of plot happening. There's a lot of performing happening. There's not much in the way of action in these shows. And it sort of makes a lie of like every show has to be action packed. It really doesn't. You know, these are the two I would hazard the two most popular shows on at the moment. I don't know what's happening with Lord of the Rings and She-Hulk, nor do I care. But I wonder, are they as popular as these two, or are they more popular? I can't see it, because those for me are very, very bad. And I'm not just talking about my own personal preference. I'm just, if I take my emotion out of it and look at the shows, they're just bad anyway. And is that going to bring in the casuals? Are they going to bring in Joe Public, or are you going to stick with Lord of the Rings? Whereas we know that Andor is successful and it's slow, and people have stuck with it. And we know that House of the Dragon is successful and it's slow, and people are sticking with it. I don't know if the reverse is true.
Well, you know something, I think that Rhaenyra has kind of become my favorite character, because at this point, if she gave birth to a baby that had purple or orange hair, or blue hair, she'd be like, yeah, so what? What? Like, I think that her attitude, and then her father saying, well, it can happen. People can show up and have different hair colors. And hello, Lorena, how are you
Hello,
today?
lovely.
Thank you for dropping by, Lorena, guys. Lorena Creole. I stream with Lorena all the time, and we do show PGS as well on. Ladies of the PGS on the PGS as well on Mondays. We also do our Toxic Male Appreciation Show as well. So, guys, please do check out Lorena's channel. And we are just wrapping up the show. But, Russ, I can't help but wonder about Rhaenyra, because I've never seen anybody be so fiercely. I think it's funny because after the marriage, she decided to live her own life. So it seemed like, I think that it seemed like she was saying, I'm going to do what you guys want. But in actuality, she hasn't been doing that. She's been doing whatever she wants to do. And I just love that. We don't know what hair color the kids will be. We'll never know. Like, we don't know what she's up to. It's true that 3 of them have dark hair, but I'm just saying, like, we really don't ever know. And it's so entertaining to have that level of confidence, because if the kid came out with like, a rainbow colored hair, no one could say anything. No one could talk. You can't say anything to this woman. And I love that. I think it's very funny. I'm almost giggling about it. Yes, there's a lot at stake, but she just doesn't care. This is, I've never seen a character like that, especially when it comes to your own progeny. This is,
Well, she just says you're a Targaryen. That's all that matters. So she didn't even answer the question. She said you're a Targaryen. That's all you need to care about. So one of the other things I thought as well that let it down a little bit, but only a little bit, was now Damon's married to Corliss's daughter, and she's sort of in her teens or 20s or whatever she is, and she's kind of there, and then boom, she's not. And it just felt a little bit stacked. I don't know if there's going to be more time jumps, but again, the show is just so good. You can forgive it. You know what it's asking of you. It's almost humbly saying, look, yeah, we've had to do this, and this is a time jump, but now you can see that Cole hates Rhaenyra. One line, it took one line and one expression, spoiled cunt. And then he realizes he said too much, and the queen just gives him a glance. That's it. We know now. We know where the battle lines are drawn.
Well, I also assume, and I don't know if this is true or not, but while it is true that he had an indiscretion with the princess, there's a possibility that the queen may have picked up on those duties, if you will. I don't see Cole kind of becoming chaste after all of this. I don't really see that. I think that the princess has made a pretty good deal for herself. It's pure speculation, guys. But yes, as this is very true. The queen and princess are enemies by 1,000 cuts.
It's well done, Ace Double. It's just well done. You can feel, former friends. You can see the venom, and then Rhaenyra tries to reach out in the small council and sort of, smooth things over, and it's kind of thrown back in her face a little bit. So there's real venom. It's really bitchy. It's really good. It's really good.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say that I don't know whether I would be as smug as the princess is with her kids, but something, there are women who are like that, and I have seen it. I've seen videos of women who, and I'm not you know, I'm not saying that they're at fault. This is their lives. They can do whatever they want to with their lives, but they are proud of their decisions. And they do have this attitude that Rhaenyra has where they're like, yeah, and you know, and you
But
know,
in
it's
the end, she's forced to flee though. Like she does what Leonor says. You know, like she actually uses his own quote against him. You know, the smart sailor doesn't sail into the storm. He runs from it. And I kind of like that now they're going to leave and set up their own power base. So now you're going to have King's Landing with the Queen and her power base, and you're going to have a different power base with Rhaenyra and Laenor, and I guess Damon, because I've had spoilers about what happens between those guys, which I'm not going to say here.
well, you know, Russ, you're right. She needs her own place now. They need
Mm,
their own place. She has an entire brood. She's probably going to have more kids knowing this lady, because certainly she is going to continue, and men are very desirous of her.
mhm.
Lorena also mentions, I'm enjoying House of Dragon. It reminds me a little bit of Dynasty. I have to agree with you, Lorena. Yes, and I think Rhaenyra is like Alexis Carrington.
Everybody's favorite,
Yes,
Joan Collins.
definitely. So, Russ, is there anything else that you'd like to comment on?
I would just say, listen to Scott Adkins. Do buy DVDs of independent action movies if you like them. It's the only way to keep that industry going. And check out Blonde. Give Andor and House of the Dragon a chance if you haven't already done so. And yeah, have a great week, everyone.
Yes, and guys, as I said, I hope to be doing Ladies of the PGS tomorrow at 6 p.m. with Lorena. I don't know if I can do it, but I will try my best to make sure we get that show out for you all tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. Certainly want to thank Tom, my moderator. We are all goof people, for your support, and everybody who is in the stream. Thank you for stopping by. Also, please do check out Russ's work on his webpage, russellwhitfield.com. Guys, you can always find me here on on my channel, Positive Fandom. You can also find me on the PGS, the Post Geek Singularity Network, on my shows with Robert, as well as Ladies of the PGS. Thank you all so much, everybody, for tuning in today. Thank you, everybody, for your support with Stream Elements. And for everybody out there, wherever you are in the galaxy, always do please remember to be kind to everybody and enjoy the rest of your day, guys.
Thanks so
Bye.
much, guys. Bye bye.